From age continuity mishaps to a failed TV spin-off that Oprah barely mentions today, The Women of Brewster Place, 1989, harbors surprising secrets behind its acclaimed facade. This groundbreaking miniseries featured everything from cigarettes that mysteriously changed length mid-scene to a theme song performer whose voice later sold McDonald's burgers, plus casting choices that defied logic and production decisions that still baffle viewers decades later. Fact 1. Age. Defying cast mystery. When casting directors put together The Women of Brewster Place in 1989, they created one of Hollywood's most puzzling age reversals that somehow made it all the way to the screen. Lynn Whitfield, who played the troubled young mother Seal, was actually 7 months older than Oprah Winfrey and 3 years older than Jackie Harry, even though both of their characters were supposed to be significantly older than Whitfield's character in the story. This casting choice becomes even more bizarre when you consider the roles each actress was playing. Oprah's character, Maddie Michael, serves as the wise matriarch of Brewster Place, a woman who has lived through decades of hardship and serves as a mother figure to the younger women in the building. Jackie Harry plays Etta Mae Johnson, Maddie's longtime friend who has spent years traveling and living life on her own terms, with enough life experience to make her world-weary and seasoned. Meanwhile, Lynn Whitfield's character Seal is portrayed as one of the younger residents, a woman still figuring out her place in the world while dealing with an unstable marriage and the challenges of early motherhood. The character arc suggests someone in her 20s or early 30s, certainly younger than the maternal figures played by Oprah and Jackie. What makes this casting decision particularly strange is that all three actresses were close enough in age that the roles could have easily been switched around to match their actual ages. Instead, the production team relied entirely on makeup, styling, and the actresses' performances to sell the illusion of their characters' supposed age differences. Somehow, it worked well enough that most viewers never noticed this peculiar age reversal, which speaks to the skill of all three performers in embodying characters that defied their real-world chronology. Fact 2. The vanishing cigarette trick. Even the most carefully produced television shows sometimes fall victim to continuity errors, and The Women of Brewster Place has one of the most noticeable cigarette blunders in TV history that sharp-eyed viewers caught and remembered for decades. During a crucial scene between the lesbian couple Teresa and Lorraine, played by Paula Kelly and Lynette McKee, Teresa's cigarette mysteriously changes length in the middle of their conversation, creating a jarring visual inconsistency that breaks the fourth wall for anyone paying attention to the details. The error occurs during an important emotional moment when Teresa is telling Lorraine that she has decided not to go to the party at the nightclub, a conversation that reveals tensions in their relationship and the social pressures they face as a couple in their conservative neighborhood. This particular scene was meant to showcase the intimate dynamics between the two women and their different approaches to dealing with the hostility they encounter from their neighbors on Brewster Place. What makes this continuity mistake particularly glaring is that cigarettes burn at a predictable rate, so when the camera cuts between different angles during the same conversation, viewers expect to see the cigarette getting progressively shorter. Instead, Teresa's cigarette appears to magically regenerate between camera shots, growing longer rather than shorter as the scene progresses. This type of error typically happens when scenes are filmed out of sequence or when multiple takes are spliced together during the editing process. The timing of this mistake makes it even more unfortunate because this scene was happening simultaneously with a block party going on outside, creating a contrast between the joy and community celebration happening in the street and the private struggle happening inside the apartment. The cigarette error became one of those small production details that movie and television enthusiasts love to point out, turning what should have been an emotionally powerful scene into an unintentional piece of trivia that viewers would discuss and remember long after the miniseries aired. Fact 3. Mysterious location secret. Throughout the entire two-night miniseries event of The Women of Brewster Place, viewers never learn exactly where this troubled neighborhood exists because the writers deliberately chose to keep the city and state completely anonymous. This creative decision transforms Brewster Place from a specific location into a universal symbol that could represent any struggling urban community across America during the 1980s. The anonymity becomes particularly striking when you realize how much detail the show provides about everything else in the characters' lives, from their personal histories to their family relationships to their daily struggles with poverty and discrimination. Yet despite all this intimate storytelling, There are no references to local landmarks, no mentions of nearby cities, no discussion of regional dialects or cultural specifics that might give away the geographic location. The characters never talk about traveling to other cities, getting mail from relatives in other states, or any of the usual references that would naturally come up in conversation and reveal where they live. This deliberate vagueness extends even to the visual elements of the production, where the sets and exterior shots were designed to look generic enough that they could represent urban housing projects in Detroit, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, or dozens of other American cities. The brick buildings, the layout of the street, even the weather and seasonal changes all maintain this carefully crafted sense of being everywhere and nowhere at the same time. The decision to keep Brewster Place geographically anonymous was based on Gloria Naylor's original novel, which also avoided naming a specific location. By creating this Anywhere America setting, both the book and the miniseries could speak to universal experiences of poverty, racism, and community struggle without being limited to the specific social and economic conditions of any particular city or region. This approach allowed viewers from different parts of the country to see their own communities reflected in the story, making the characters' experiences feel more personal and relatable regardless of where people were watching from. Fact 4. Vesta Williams' commercial connection. The powerhouse vocalist who delivered the emotionally stirring theme song for the Women of Brewster Place, Vesta Williams, later found her distinctive, 4-octave voice selling everything from hamburgers to sneakers through commercial jingles for some of America's biggest brands. After her work on the miniseries in 1989, Williams became one of the most sought-after voices in the advertising world, lending her vocal talents to major corporations including McDonald's, Nike, Baskin-Robbins, Diet Coke, Revlon, and Exxon. This transition from creating haunting television theme music to singing commercial jingles represents one of the more unusual career paths in the entertainment industry, especially considering that Williams was known for her serious R&B artistry and had scored several top 10 hits on the Billboard R&B charts during the mid-1980s and early 1990s. Her songs like Once Bitten, Twice Shy, Sweet Sweet Love, and her signature hit Congratulations established her as a respected artist with incredible vocal range and emotional depth. What makes this commercial work particularly interesting is that radio listeners across the country were hearing Vesta Williams' unmistakable voice encouraging them to buy fast food, soft drinks, and cosmetics, without necessarily realizing they were listening to the same artist who had created such a memorable musical moment for the acclaimed miniseries. Her voice had become so recognizable through her recording career that advertising agencies specifically sought her out to add credibility and emotional resonance to their campaigns. The shift to commercial work became necessary as Williams faced challenges getting the support she wanted from her record label, AM Records, which led to fewer opportunities for mainstream music success despite her undeniable talent. By the late 1990s, she was working steadily as a session singer and commercial vocalist, proving that even artists with extraordinary abilities sometimes have to find creative ways to make a living in the music industry while keeping their distinctive voices in the public ear. Fact 5. Oprah's forgotten TV failure. Just 1 year after the successful miniseries aired, Oprah Winfrey experienced one of her earliest and most significant public failures when the spin-off television series called Brewster Place premiered on May 1, 1990, only to be canceled after just 1 month on the air. This rapid cancellation marked a rare stumble during Oprah's rise to becoming the undisputed queen of television, and it remains notably absent from most of her official biographies and career retrospectives today. The series actually started with promising numbers, earning a 15.1 Nielsen share on its debut night, which indicated that audiences were initially interested in returning to the world they had loved in the miniseries. However, by the third episode, the ratings had dropped dramatically, and ABC executives quickly realized they had a problem on their hands. The 30-minute weekly format struggled to capture the same emotional depth and storytelling power that had made the original 2-night miniseries so compelling and critically acclaimed. What makes this failure particularly interesting is how thoroughly it has been scrubbed from Oprah's public narrative over the decades. While she readily discusses other early career challenges and setbacks, the Brewster Place television series rarely gets mentioned in interviews, documentaries, or official company histories. This selective memory becomes even more striking when you consider that Oprah was both the star and executive producer of the show, making it a significant creative and business venture during a crucial period of her career. The production was filmed at Oprah's Harpo Studios in Chicago, which added to the personal investment she had in the project's success. Despite the quick cancellation after only 6 aired episodes, the production team had actually completed filming 11 episodes total, all of which eventually became available for viewing on platforms like YouTube years later. This forgotten chapter in Oprah's career serves as a reminder that even the most successful media moguls have projects they would rather leave in the past. Fact 6. The One Actor Spinoff Survivor. When the Brewster Place television series launched in 1990, producers made the puzzling decision to recast nearly every major character from the beloved miniseries, with only one actor making the transition from the original production to the weekly show. Olivia Cole, who played the gossipy and troublesome neighbor Miss Sophie, became the sole survivor of what amounted to a complete casting overhaul that left fans wondering why the other acclaimed performers were replaced. This wholesale recasting meant that viewers had to adjust to entirely new faces playing the characters they had grown attached to during the miniseries. Brenda Presley took over the role of Etta Mae Johnson, which had been played by Jackie Harry in the original, while Rachel Crawford replaced Robin Givens as the activist character Melanie, who went by the name Kiswana. Even Leon's character Abshu was recast, with Kelly Neal stepping into the role for the television series. The decision becomes even stranger when you consider that most of the original cast members were television veterans who would have been available and willing to continue with their characters. Jackie Harry had just finished her successful run on the sitcom 227, and Robin Givens was at the height of her fame, so their absence from the spin-off wasn't due to scheduling conflicts or career moves that would have made them unavailable for a weekly television commitment. Olivia Cole's character Miss Sophie was perfectly suited to survive the transition because she served as the neighborhood's resident gossip and busybody, a role that naturally lent itself to the episodic format of a weekly series. Her character could easily pop in and out of different storylines, commenting on the various dramas unfolding around Brewster Place while maintaining the continuity that connected the new show to its acclaimed predecessor. This made her the perfect bridge between the two productions, even as everyone else around her changed completely. Fact 7. Theme Song Makeover Mystery. When the Brewster Place television series launched in 1990, producers made the dramatic decision to completely abandon Vesta Williams' haunting and emotionally powerful theme song from the miniseries, replacing it with a completely different musical approach that featured the Grammy-winning a cappella group Take 6. This musical makeover represented a complete shift in tone from the original's soulful and melancholic opening to something much more upbeat and community-focused for the weekly series. The new theme song arrangement showcased Take 6's incredible vocal harmonies and became notable not just for its sound but for its unique visual presentation during the opening credits. Instead of using a traditional studio recording played over establishing shots of the neighborhood, the producers had Take 6 actually appear on screen, performing their version of the theme song while standing on the corner of Brewster Place itself, creating an organic connection between the music and the setting that viewers would be entering each week. This visual approach turned the opening credits into a mini-performance that felt like a natural part of the neighborhood's daily life, as if Take 6 were local residents who happened to gather on the street corner to sing about their community. The decision to feature the group performing live on the set rather than in a recording studio gave the opening sequence a more authentic, grassroots feeling that matched the show's focus on everyday people dealing with real-world problems in an urban setting. The contrast between the two theme songs reflects the different goals of each production, with the original miniseries using Vesta Williams' more serious and contemplative musical approach to set up the dramatic stories that would unfold over 2 nights, while the weekly series needed something more energetic and optimistic to draw viewers back each week. Take 6's version provided that sense of hope and community spirit that television producers felt was necessary for a successful ongoing series, even though it meant sacrificing the emotional depth that had made the original theme so memorable. Fact 8. Harpo's backwards production. The Women of Brewster Place was produced by Oprah Winfrey's own production company, Harpo Productions, which carries one of the most straightforward yet surprisingly overlooked naming conventions in all of Hollywood entertainment history. The company name Harpo is simply Oprah, spelled backwards, making it both a clever play on her own name and a perfect example of how obvious solutions sometimes hide in plain sight for decades without people noticing the connection. Oprah founded Harpo Productions in 1986, just as the Oprah Winfrey Show was going into national syndication and her career was reaching new heights of success and influence. The timing of the company's creation meant that the Women of Brewster Place became one of the early major projects that demonstrated her ability to move beyond just hosting a talk show and into serious television and film production. Work. What makes the backwards spelling particularly interesting is that it's been sitting right there in front of millions of viewers for decades, appearing in the credits of countless television shows, movies, and specials. Yet most people never make the connection between Harpo and Oprah until someone specifically points it out to them. This hidden in plain sight quality has made it one of those entertainment industry facts that consistently surprises people, even those who have been watching Oprah's productions for years. The name choice also reflects Oprah's practical approach to business, choosing something personal and meaningful, rather than trying to come up with an elaborate corporate identity that might sound more traditionally professional. By the time The Women of Brewster Place aired in 1989, Harpo Productions had become the vehicle through which Oprah would maintain creative control over her projects, ensuring that she could tell the stories she wanted to tell without interference from other studios or networks. This backward-spelled company name would eventually become one of the most recognizable production company brands in television history. Fact 9. The Wardrobe Poverty Paradox. One of the most frequent criticisms viewers had about The Women of Brewster Place was the jarring disconnect between the story's depiction of urban poverty and financial struggle and the consistently polished appearance of all the characters throughout the miniseries. Many people noticed that despite living in rundown housing and dealing with serious money problems, every woman on Brewster Place looked like they had just stepped out of a department store with perfectly styled hair, well-fitted clothing, and an overall appearance that suggested middle-class comfort rather than economic hardship. This wardrobe paradox became particularly noticeable during scenes where characters were supposed to be discussing their financial difficulties or struggling to pay rent while wearing outfits that appeared expensive and carefully coordinated. The costume department seemed to prioritize making the actresses look attractive and professionally dressed rather than creating authentic representations of what people experiencing poverty would actually wear on a daily basis in their own homes and neighborhood. The problem extended beyond just the clothing to include hair and makeup, where every character maintained salon-quality styling even during the most emotionally devastating moments of their personal stories. Women who were supposed to be single mothers working multiple jobs or dealing with abusive relationships somehow always looked like they had time and money for regular beauty treatments, creating a visual language that contradicted the harsh realities the script was trying to convey. This disconnect between the story's intent and its visual execution reflects a common challenge in television and film production, where the desire to make characters appealing to audiences sometimes conflicts with the need for authentic storytelling. The result was a miniseries that told powerful stories about economic hardship and social challenges, while inadvertently making poverty look much more glamorous and manageable than it actually is, leading viewers to question whether the production team truly understood the living conditions they were trying to portray on screen. Fact 10. Time period confusion. The Women of Brewster Place created one of television's most confusing temporal puzzles, where different characters seem to exist in completely different decades within the same neighborhood, leaving viewers scratching their heads about when the story was actually supposed to be taking place. This chronological confusion became so noticeable that people watching the miniseries started commenting about how Oprah's character Maddie Michael seemed to belong in the 1950s, while the drug dealers terrorizing the neighborhood appeared to be straight out of the 1980s crack epidemic era. The disconnect became even more pronounced when viewers tried to figure out what time period Robin Givens' character Kizwana was supposed to represent, with her activist ideals and college-educated background suggesting she could have been from the civil rights era of the 60s, the Black Power movement of the 70s, or even the contemporary late 80s when the miniseries was actually filmed and broadcast. This temporal mismatch extended to the visual elements of the production, where different storylines seemed to be drawing from different decades of African-American urban experience, without any clear indication of how these various time periods were supposed to connect or coexist. The drug-related violence and street culture elements felt very current to 1989 audiences, while some of the family dynamics and social situations seemed rooted in much earlier decades of American history. The confusion wasn't helped by the fact that the original novel by Gloria Naylor deliberately avoided specific dating. But the television adaptation seemed to pull cultural references, fashion choices, and social issues from multiple decades without establishing a coherent timeline. This created a viewing experience where audiences couldn't orient themselves historically making it difficult to understand whether they were watching a period piece, a contemporary drama, or some kind of multi-generational saga that was supposed to span several decades of American urban life in a single neighborhood. Fact 11. Emmy nomination rarity. While the Women of Brewster Place featured an ensemble cast of talented actresses, including Oprah Winfrey, Jackie Harry, and Cicely Tyson, only one performer from the entire production received individual recognition from the Emmy Awards when Paula Kelly earned a nomination for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a miniseries or drama for her powerful portrayal of Teresa. This single nomination made Kelly stand out among her fellow cast members and highlighted her exceptional performance in what many consider to be one of the miniseries' most challenging and emotionally demanding roles. Paula Kelly's character Teresa was part of the lesbian couple's storyline that represented groundbreaking television content for 1989, requiring her to navigate complex emotions around love, acceptance, and social persecution in a way that felt authentic and respectful during a time when LGBTQ+ characters were rarely seen on mainstream television. Her performance captured both Teresa's strength and vulnerability as someone trying to build a life with her partner Lorraine while facing hostility from their neighbors and the broader community around Brewster Place. The Emmy nomination was particularly significant because it came during an era when the Television Academy was much more conservative in recognizing diverse stories and performers, making Kelly's acknowledgement a notable achievement for both her individual talent and the groundbreaking nature of the content she was bringing to life. Her work in the miniseries demonstrated the kind of nuanced, emotionally complex acting that Emmy voters typically reward, even when the subject matter was considered controversial or challenging for mainstream audiences. What makes this nomination even more remarkable is that Kelly managed to earn this recognition despite appearing in what was essentially a supporting role within an ensemble cast, proving that her performance had enough impact and depth to stand out among all the other strong acting work happening throughout the two-night miniseries event. The nomination validated both her individual contribution and the importance of the storyline she helped bring to television audiences. Fact 12. GLAAD's surprising recognition. The Women of Brewster Place earned the GLAAD Media Award for Outstanding TV Movie or Limited Series, making it a pioneering example of mainstream television being recognized for positive LGBTQ+ representation at a time when gay and lesbian characters were virtually invisible on network programming. This award placed the miniseries among the earliest major network productions to receive this kind of recognition from the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, highlighting how groundbreaking the inclusion of Teresa and Lorraine's relationship was for 1989 television. The significance of this award becomes even more apparent when you consider the television landscape of the late 1980s, where LGBTQ+ characters were either completely absent from mainstream programming or portrayed in negative, stereotypical ways that reinforced harmful misconceptions about gay and lesbian people. The Women of Brewster Place broke this pattern by presenting Teresa and Lorraine as complex, fully realized human beings dealing with real relationship issues, career challenges, and the universal desire to find acceptance and belonging in their community. What made the miniseries particularly worthy of GLAAD's recognition was how it avoided the typical tragic endings that television had historically imposed on gay and lesbian characters, instead focusing on the everyday struggles and genuine love between two women trying to build a life together in a hostile environment. The storyline addressed homophobia directly while also showing the characters' humanity and dignity, refusing to sensationalize their relationship or treat it as something shameful or abnormal. The GLAAD Media Awards were still relatively new in 1989, having been established just a few years earlier to recognize fair and accurate representations of LGBTQ+ people in media. For the Women of Brewster Place to receive this honor alongside its other accolades, including NAACP Image Awards, demonstrated that the miniseries was successfully addressing multiple forms of discrimination and social justice issues within a single compelling narrative that resonated with diverse audiences and advocacy organizations. Fact 13. Gospel Legends Hidden Cameo. One of gospel music's most celebrated voices made a brief but powerful appearance in the Women of Brewster Place that went unnoticed by many viewers, when award-winning gospel legend Vanessa Bell Armstrong performed Amazing Grace in what amounted to little more than a cameo role. Armstrong, who had already established herself as one of the premier gospel singers of her generation by 1989, brought her incredible vocal talent to the miniseries in such a short scene that audiences could easily miss recognizing this major musical figure. Vanessa Bell Armstrong was already a Grammy-nominated artist and gospel music superstar by the time she appeared in the miniseries, having recorded multiple successful albums and earned recognition as one of the most powerful voices in contemporary gospel music. Her inclusion in the production represented a significant musical talent being brought into the project, but the brevity of her appearance meant that only the most devoted gospel music fans would have immediately recognized her contribution to the show. The choice to have Armstrong perform Amazing Grace was particularly fitting given the spiritual themes that ran throughout the Women of Brewster Place, where characters often turned to faith and community support to help them through their various struggles and challenges. Her rendition of this classic hymn would have provided exactly the kind of emotional and spiritual resonance that the story required, delivered by someone with the vocal ability to make the moment truly memorable. What makes this cameo particularly unfortunate is that Armstrong's brief appearance represented a missed opportunity to showcase one of gospel music's greatest talents to a mainstream television audience that might not have been familiar with her work. Her powerful voice and emotional delivery could have provided one of the miniseries' most moving musical moments, but the short duration of her scene meant that her contribution became more of an Easter egg for gospel music enthusiasts rather than a showcase for her remarkable abilities. Fact 14. The 4-octave theme voice. The haunting theme song that opened each episode of The Women of Brewster Place was performed by Vesta Williams, a vocalist blessed with an extraordinary 4-octave vocal range that placed her among the most technically gifted singers in popular music history. This incredible range meant that Williams could hit notes spanning from the deepest bass registers all the way up to the highest soprano notes, giving her a vocal flexibility that very few singers possess and allowing her to create the emotionally rich and musically complex theme song that became so memorable to viewers. Williams' remarkable vocal abilities were perhaps most famously demonstrated when she sang the Star-Spangled Banner for a Los Angeles Lakers game opener, where she deliberately showcased her full 4-octave range during the performance of the national anthem. This Lakers performance became legendary among music enthusiasts because it displayed the complete scope of her vocal capabilities in a single song, moving seamlessly from the lowest possible notes to soaring high notes that few singers could even attempt, let alone execute with the power and precision that Williams brought to every performance. To put this vocal range in perspective, most professional singers work within a range of about 2 octaves, while exceptionally talented vocalists might achieve 3 octaves with training and practice. Williams' natural 4-octave range put her in the company of legendary voices like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, giving her the technical ability to tackle virtually any song in any style, from deep, soulful ballads to soaring gospel-influenced anthems. This extraordinary vocal gift made Williams the perfect choice for the Women of Brewster Place theme song, where her ability to convey both the pain and hope of the characters' experiences through pure vocal expression helped establish the emotional tone for the entire miniseries. Her voice could capture the full spectrum of human emotion that the stories required, moving from tender vulnerability to powerful strength within the same musical phrase. Fact 15. The complete version mystery. The version of The Women of Brewster Place that aired on ABC during its original broadcast in March of 1989 was significantly shorter than what the creators actually filmed, with over 30 minutes of additional footage that was cut from the television presentation, but later restored in complete, unedited versions released on home video and streaming platforms. This means that millions of viewers who watched the miniseries during its initial run missed substantial character development, important dialogue, and crucial story details that help explain character motivations and relationships throughout the 2-night event. The extensive editing required to fit the miniseries into ABC's broadcast schedule resulted in the removal of scenes that provided deeper insight into the women's backgrounds, their interactions with each other, and the social and economic forces that shaped their lives on Brewster Place. These deleted scenes weren't just padding or unnecessary material, but actual story content that enhanced viewers' understanding of why certain characters made the choices they did and how their past experiences influenced their present situations. The discovery of this additional footage came as a surprise to many fans who had only seen the broadcast version and wondered about certain plot points that seemed to move too quickly or character relationships that felt underdeveloped. When complete versions became available through DVD releases and later through streaming services, viewers could finally see the fuller picture that the creators had originally intended, with more time devoted to exploring the complex emotions and circumstances that drove each woman's story. This situation reflects the common television industry practice of editing content to meet specific time constraints, but the amount of material removed from the Women of Brewster Place was unusually substantial, essentially creating two different viewing experiences depending on which version people encountered. The complete version provides a richer, more nuanced understanding of Gloria Naylor's original vision and the characters' journeys, making it almost like discovering a different miniseries entirely for those who had only seen the edited broadcast version.